Houston. Houston, we have a problem. DJ Apollo has landed. I repeat, DJ Apollo has landed at Hipmix 88.9 WEIU.
Welcome to the Tales of Music and Film, and I just want to start by saying happy holidays. At the time that this episode is being recorded, it is December 12th, 2022, and it is finals week for this semester here at Eastern Illinois University. My name is DJ Apollo, and I am joined with my buddy,
Preston Van Swall.
Yeah, and Preston wanted me. He gave me this awesome idea. So we just started this recording right after we had a Newswatch Christmas party, and we had an awesome little gift exchange, and he wanted to give a brief mention on the gift that he received.
Yeah, so my gift, which I got during a White Elephant gift exchange by none other than DJ Apollo himself, is this really cool, is this really cool Aston Martin Vanquish, which is an iconic car used by James Bond in GoldenEye. So, and I'm really excited to put this thing together as soon as I get a chance.
Yeah, I was telling him like what you should do, right? You should get like a little shelf in your future house, like in your living room, like buy all the Daniel Craig films and then like stack them up in order, with like the car dead center in the middle, like a nice little like Daniel Craig Bond era display or something, because that car was it was featured in Goldfinger first, but I think it got way more popular because it was. I think it's in almost every Daniel Craig Bond movie.
Yes. And is it in Skyfall for a short time?
I haven't seen Skyfall yet.
I think it is. I think they do a throwback to it.
Okay, because I know it appears in Casino Royale, which I've seen. I forget if it was in Quantum of Solace. I forget.
I can't remember.
It was in No Time to Die. I know that. So we know for a fact it's been in 3 out of the 5 films he's done. But today we are back discussing another album, and this will be the last one before we leave for this semester. And I thought the perfect record for us to cover is a Johnny Cash album, because I've been wanting to cover a Johnny Cash record for a while now, and there's one in particular, and it's 20 years old this year, and this was the last album that Johnny Cash recorded himself before he passed away. This is the American album, Volume 4, A Man Comes Around. So Johnny Cash ended up doing a series of albums called American, and each one had a Roman numeral. And there are 6 total, and he did 4 of them before he passed away, and then 5 and 6 were released over the years after he died. Number 5 was released in 2006. And then the 6th and final one came out in 2010. And the one we're covering today is Volume 4, A Man Comes Around. And this album features many songs on here that he either wrote himself or covered. And I'm going to start off by talking about one of my favorite songs off of here, which is A Man Comes Around. I love this song so much. And Preston, I believe you told me that this is his, right? He wrote this one?
Yes, that's correct.
And this song, fun fact, was featured in the movie Logan, which was Hugh Jackman's 9th time playing Wolverine, and it was supposedly going to be his last time playing him, but it was just announced a few months ago that Hugh Jackman is coming back to play Wolverine again for Deadpool 3, which is set to release in 2024. So Logan is his 9th time playing the character, and Logan, spoiler alert, is killed at the end of Logan, and the ending credits song is A Man Comes Around. And I thought this song was very fitting as the ending credits because this song really tells me, like, hey, Preston, could you help me out a minute? Could you look up A Man Comes Around's lyrics for me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this song really is full, excuse me, of stuff that it's hard to really depict. Like, the theme that I get from this track in particular is that it seems like it's about a man who's at the end of his rope and that his life is like nearing the end and he doesn't know what to do. Like, this guy's lived his life, hasn't been easy, but he's still trucking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's the vibe that I get from this. Like, I've looked at the lyrics once for this, but that was a long time ago. And there's just something about this one that just really stands out. Just the way you read this. You know what? Honestly, though, you know what this sounds like to me? A eulogy. This whole, because honestly, this kind of sounds like a eulogy to me.
I can understand that. Yeah, so I'll read the lyrics real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it starts off with, "And I heard, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, 'Come and see.' And I saw, and behold, a white horse. There's a man going around taking names, and he decides who to free and who to blame. Everyone won't be treated all the same. There will be a golden ladder reaching down when the man comes around." So from my perspective as a Christian, I see it as a man who has lived a not very good life. Kind of a sinful life.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at. Yeah.
And he's regretting it. And now he's kind of like seeing the wrong he did and like wishing he did things better because he's on his deathbed.
Oh, yeah. You see, that's what I was hinting at.
Yeah.
Like, he's trying to amend or redeem himself, if you will, for some of the bad things he did. And, dude, like, that fits very well for John because, like, he didn't necessarily have the greatest past, you know what I mean? Like, he had a lot of screw-ups over his life.
But he did amend it.
Like, yeah, but he did amend for it. Like, that time he was busted in the late 60s for having illegal drugs, and he was sent to jail for a little bit. I think he ended up cheating on his first wife with June, who he later married. That's just to name a few, things that he should not have done. But I think he atoned.
And I think that the man he's referring to with the golden ladder, I think he's referring to Jesus Christ.
Oh, you think so?
Because I believe that he, I see it as he probably, in his regret, turned, and all of that turned to, I see it as him turning to, like, the Bible and turning to Christ as his way to get redemption.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, he was, I don't know, like, what religion he particularly followed. I think it was Christian. Because I've watched, like, bits and pieces of him over the years in interviews, and it looks like he was Catholic. I could be wrong, though.
Just Christian faith. Not really faith? Catholic, just Christian faith. So,
okay.
So yeah, that's definitely who he's referring to. And I can pick that up as a Christian, obviously.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And that brings us to the next song I just want to cover. Now, this one everybody knows. Like, dude, I'm telling you right now, you want to do a try not to cry challenge? Try watching the music video for this next song that I'm about to discuss. Johnny Cash's cover of "Hurt." Now, I have listened, like Preston, I'm sure you can say yes to this as well. Like, back in high school, during my very depressing years of like ages of like 14 to like 17, I listened to this song like on an almost daily basis. Like, this song got me through, I can't even begin to explain. It got me through a lot of hard times. And this was the very last song Johnny Cash covered before he died. And like, the dude is literally attending his own funeral when you listen to this. Like, by the time that he was recording this song and the album as a whole, his health was at its lowest point. He knew that he was reaching the end. And when he did the music video, his wife, June, passed away, like, literally a month or two after they filmed it.
I feel like it would be a crime for us to talk about "Hurt" without reading these beautiful lyrics a little bit.
Yeah, and before we do that, who was the original artist who wrote this?
The original artist was Trent Reznor.
Trent Reznor, okay. And so, why don't you go ahead and read out those lyrics?
"I hurt myself today to see if I still feel I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. The needle tears a hole, the old familiar sting, to kill it all away, but I remember everything.
Yeah.
It's just
like,
so
dude,
deep and
tragic. And that's just the first few sentences.
Yeah, that's like the first verse.
That's literally like some of the first verse. And like, dude, this song hits me in the feels. Like, I've experienced that, like, firsthand. Like, I've had to bury loved ones that I still think about to this very day. And like high school, for example, most of my friendships ended in not in a good way, you know, and they're not there anymore.
Well,
I sit there looking at pictures from school of me with those people, and we're not friends anymore. So it's just like, you know, you are someone else, but I'm still standing here. You know, it's just like, dude, that is just like real.
And
you know?
For me, I didn't listen to this on the daily when I was through a dark time. For me, it was more Avril Lavigne.
Oh, really? Okay.
Just some of her dark stuff. Great artist. But
okay.
I did pull this out every once in a while during that time when I needed something like the Johnny Cash way. I've listened to it quite a few times in my life, and especially when I went through I went through a breakup.
Oh,
and this really helped me get through.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like when I was going through a lot of hard times too. Like I had 3 breakups in high school, and I believe I listened to this quite a bit of times between each breakup. And this song, it's literally about like this is literally Johnny Cash's eulogy song. Like when he showed his daughter the music video, she was like, well, it looks like you're saying goodbye. And he I'm not kidding you. This is what he said. I am. You know, like that's literally the whole song in the music video is him literally saying goodbye. Like, dude, the last shot in the music video is when he like the song's over. The last 5 seconds is him closing the cover on the piano and putting his hands over it. Literally, like, what's the word? Like, him closing his own coffin, a symbolize of his own coffin being closed.
And
like,
I gotta read a couple more lyrics from
go
this.
for it.
Like,
Go.
Just, that makes it hurt even more when you read this part. Like, what have I become, my sweetest friend?
Yeah.
Everyone I know goes away in the end. If you could have it all, my empire of dirt, I will let you down. I will make you hurt.
Yeah.
And I just, as you go through this, you could tell he has a lot of regrets.
Oh, dude, the video says it all. Like, in between, he's like sitting inside his house, and then there's like parts like in between where it's showing footage of him when he was young, like doing shows and everything. And like,
it's interesting because we read this like he wrote it, even though he didn't, but he made it his own.
Yeah, like, I'm not kidding, dude. The artist who originally wrote this, he's like, this is not my song anymore. Like, this is John's now.
Yeah.
When he covers your music, it's his now.
Right.
Because, like, the level of depth he added to this.
Right.
It's kind of scary how well that song fit for him. We're at the point where he was at in his life.
I honestly think that he was having regrets, and he was making peace with them, and basically saying he was sorry to everyone he hurt.
Oh, yeah. Like,
and that just redeems him all the more in my eyes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the fact that you acknowledge it, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, the least you can do is acknowledge, okay, those things I did were horrible. How do I make it right? I feel like when you get to that point, you're redeemed. Because I feel like the defining moment is just you being like, okay, that was wrong.
Yeah.
Just admitting that to yourself is just like, okay, you're at the point. In my personal opinion, do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I'm telling you, I've watched countless YouTubers react to the music video for the first time. Half of them were either holding back tears or were just straight up bawling their eyes out. Because, like, dude, it rips your heart out.
Yeah.
You know, it just like, I'm telling you, you try not to cry challenge. Watch that whole 3-minute clip and like without crying. Like I think it's physically impossible.
But at the same time, as weird as this is going to sound, I almost see it as like a happy thing too, because it's happy because he's clearly been suffering for a long time at this point.
Oh yeah, the minute he entered the 21st century, his health just went just straight downhill.
But I also think that this was him making peace, because making that song into what it was and making those apologies, and obviously the only person that can confirm or deny this is Johnny Cash.
It's him himself.
And he is unfortunately not here to tell us.
Yeah.
But I just hope, and I feel like I could see it, giving him some peace and accepting what he's done and putting the apology out there.
Yeah. I totally get that. Like I like to think when he passed that he was at peace with everything, that like he lived his life, wouldn't have had it any other way. And he made his peace with it.
I don't know if he wouldn't have had it any other way, but he accepted that he didn't, and he accepted what his life was for what it was. And I mean, he had children that he loved dearly, and I think that even though he probably would have changed things when he was younger, he still accepts what his life was for what it was, and is happy for the things he had.
Sure. And that's what I was trying to get at as well,
Yeah.
with that whole thing. I mean, like, dude, everybody goes through that. We all look back in our lives, like most of us, with like, yeah, there could have been those few things that I could have handled differently. But that just hammers back to the fact, no one's perfect, like everyone is going to make big slip-ups throughout their life, and it's going to hurt people, but that's just how it is. We're humans. We're naturally, we're going to screw up. You know? And the important thing is overcoming and learning from it and keep living on. So, yeah. And so that's hurt. And that brings me to the third song that I want to cover before I pass the mic over to Preston so he can talk about the cover, like a song or two that really intrigued him. So the last one that I want to cover is Johnny Cash's cover of Personal Jesus. Now,
Martin Gore wrote that.
Martin Gore, okay. And this is my favorite song on this album. I don't know why. There's something about it. Like, when you listen to this song, it's a mix of guitar mixed in with very good piano playing, which, fun fact, is Belmont Tench from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Like,
really?
Dude, you hear in the background, he is going to town on that piano.
I bet.
It's just like John singing, playing his acoustic. You can hear Belmont in the background just do, just like, oh, it's so good. And
I'm glad you picked this one up, because I think this one is much lighter and less depressing than Hurt.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, this one feels a little more uplifting. You know what I mean?
Because it's basically what I see this as, and I mean, you can tell me if you disagree.
You go first. Your interpretation of this.
I interpret this as him basically comforting someone and saying, I'm always going to be there for you.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like, for me, it was kind of like, I don't know, like, excuse me, I just had pizza like an hour ago.
Uh-oh, watch out, everyone.
Yeah, I know, like, burps inbound. But over the years, I've been trying to figure out what he's talking about, because there's literally lyrics in there like, flesh and bones, by the telephone, pick up the receiver, I'll make you a believer. Like, what do you think that means, Preston? Like, I don't know what that means.
Say it one more time.
Flesh and bones by the telephone, pick up the receiver, I'll make you a believer.
That almost sounds like he's trying to, like, bring someone to Christ. Because it's like he's seeing someone as being, like, dead, and he's bringing them to Christ. Or if their interpretation is him being like a protector, then just seeing them going through a struggle and saying, hey, just follow me and I can help you make things better.
Now,
one of those two things.
Sure.
And he was a Christian, so it could be either.
Now, the way I interpreted this, it took me a little bit to think about it, but the way I look at it, this song is talking about how, like, you are your own personal Jesus. Like, you can go out and comfort others and help them with whatever hardship they're going through. And, like, this whole thing makes me imagine someone helping someone else with a very bad situation that they're in, and they are being their own personal Jesus. You know what I mean? Like,
so what do you interpret the lines for someone to hear your prayers, someone who cares to be?
Like, that just says, like, hey, this person cares. He's helping me out. You know what I mean? Like someone cares, like, prayer. Because, like, I'm an atheist. So for me, it's like, I imagine, like, prayers is a metaphor for them speaking to you about whatever it is they're struggling with. You know what I mean? That's what I get. The prayer.
So whoever
prayers,
you're praying to is, like, speaking to you about whatever you're talking about.
Yeah,
is that what you're describing?
Maybe something like that. But to me, it's like, say, like, the prayers is like, okay, tell me what it is you're going through. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to listen to the whole thing. Tell me what's up. Okay, I can help you by saying this. So, like, I'm listening to you, and I care.
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, like that.
I see prayer more as literally just from when I pray. I'm not saying this to, like, contradict you or discount
no,
it,
no,
it's
dude.
Like, I see it as
permission to speak freely. Go for it. You're good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I see it as just talking to God.
Oh, and then that could be it too.
Yeah.
That could be it too. I'm just speaking in how I look at it.
Metaphorically, then you can also see, like, rather than talking to God, because it also says later on, take second best, put me to the test. It's almost like he's humbling himself and saying, I'm not God, but you can talk to me.
Yeah, like, things on your chest, you need to confess. I will deliver. You know I'm a forgiver.
Yeah.
You know, like...
So,
yeah.
But you could be right too. Like, I'm not saying you're wrong. That's the nice thing about these songs.
I'm just saying, like, I'm speaking about this from an atheist point of view, and you're talking about it from your religion's point of view. You know, it's just like, and that's the important thing. It's like, I see that's the part that intrigues me is with these different people with the religion they follow. It's kind of cool to hear. Okay, how do you interpret this? You know, like that's the cool thing to me. It's just like everybody's like interpretation of what this song is. It's different.
And none of us are necessarily wrong.
I mean, like, maybe both of us are wrong. Like, who knows? We're just speaking from like what we think. But yeah,
and like I said earlier, only Johnny Cash could really confirm or deny it. For sure.
Yeah,
it's meaningful to us in different ways, and we're presenting it that way.
Yeah. So I'm glad we were able to cover one finally that's more uplifting and not so sad.
Yes.
Just those first two were pretty sad.
Yes.
But those are the three that I really want to talk about. Now, Preston, what was a track that really intrigued you on this album?
Well, I hate to say it, but I'm going to go back to depressing again.
Oh, well.
Give My Love to Rose.
Yeah, and that's track number 3. Yeah,
three.
Number 3.
Yes.
And I thought that this was a cover, but apparently not. He wrote this himself.
Yeah, it's original to him. Okay, so the lyrics here. I found him by the railroad track this morning. I could see that he was nearly dead. So we're off to a really happy start there.
What a happy, joyful opening this is. Like,
and I knelt down beside him and I listened just to hear the words of the dying fellow said. He said they let me out of prison out in Frisco. For 10 long years, I paid for what I've done. I was trying to get back to Louisiana to see my Rose and get to know my son. Sorry to read the lyrics that far in. I know that's kind of long, but that's very important to describe the backstory behind this song.
Yeah, because you're literally setting up the scene here for like what this is about.
Yes. So the backstory behind this, according to something I looked up on the internet, so take it
for what it is.
What it is. I mean, this is a podcast. We're not claiming to be absolute experts, but
sure,
if you're interested, do your own research.
It
says, according to this article, it says that Cash said a prisoner from San Quentin State Prison asked him to take a message to his wife if he ever went through his hometown. This conversation, according to Cash, was the inspiration for the lyric, which is about a dying convict who is released after 10 years of imprisonment. The man is on his way to Louisiana from San Francisco to see his wife and his child one last time before he dies. He collapses along the rails of the railway, where he is found by the narrator. The dying man asks the narrator to take his wife, his love, and a little money, and the man agrees. And that's the backstory. And it's...
Yeah, because, like, dude, the whole thing is literally about a convict who realizes he's not going to make it home. Like, he's on his deathbed at this point. So he's, like, telling this feller who found him by the railroad track, like, if you walk through this town, like, please find my wife Rose and my son and tell them all this, you know, like,
yeah.
And it's so sad, you know, like.
It reminds me of another song I've heard before.
Really?
It's not Johnny Cash, but it's a song called Tell My Father. And it's about a man who's dying in the Civil War and having another soldier telling him to tell his father a message from him about how he died being brave and like that they'll meet again in heaven and just a lot of stuff. It's really sad, but deep, and it means a lot to me. But this really reminded me of that because it's the same kind of situation.
Oh yeah, big resemblance. Resemblance.
Like I'm not sure if this is. I don't know if he wrote this. Like, obviously, he wrote it based off of an encounter with someone in a prison.
Right.
But I don't know if he wrote it to be deep or if he just wrote it in honor of that man's message to sort of redeem him a little bit.
Oh, sure. Like, yeah, I mean, like, and that could be it. We may never know, but, I mean, that could be it.
Because we do know that he wrote it and was inspired to write it off of that encounter.
Up to that encounter. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I believe there was another one on here that you found very intriguing. I believe he covered a Simon and Garfunkel song.
Oh, yes. Bridge Over Troubled Water. Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel, great musicians. He did a cover of this song. Honestly, it seems very, very similar in my eyes to... Personal Jesus with its message. Oh, okay. Because it says, when you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all. I'm on your side when times get rough, and friends just can't be found. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down.
Oh, like we're off to like a really good, inspiring start here, right? I mean, like, okay, like. Okay, so like off the bat, is this song kind of uplifting in any way, or is this like
very uplifting? It's like, about like
that intro kind of got me. Okay, it's like a mix for me. Is this uplifting, or is it a mix of like uplifting and sad?
It's very uplifting because it's basically the way Simon and Garfunkel wrote it, where that they were saying, when you're going through a really dark time, I will be there for you, and I will be by your side through thick and thin.
Oh,
like a bridge over troubling water.
You're walking
I will lay
over
me
the
down.
trouble.
Like I'm going to lay down so you can get over that water.
Gotcha.
So it's very uplifting. And I think that maybe that's why he decided to do that cover. For one, it's a phenomenal song. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a huge Simon and Garfunkel fan.
Yeah, sure.
A lot of people are. But it also was a good mix with the dark stuff that was going on.
Oh, sure.
And, like, if he's on his deathbed, I'm sure he was trying to do everything he could to make the people he cares about have the easiest time with his passing possible.
Oh, yeah.
And perhaps that's part of the reason he wrote it. And I don't want to project this onto Johnny Cash, because this is just speculation. Yeah. I mean, no disrespect at all.
Yeah, like, disclaimer before we go any further. Everything that we talk about in this recording is just pure, what's the word?
Speculation or interpretation.
Like, none of what we're saying is 100% factual. We're just going off of stuff we've read and what we think.
Yes.
And nothing more.
The last thing we want is for people to hear this and then just accept it as absolute truth.
Yeah.
Because even if it is, I feel like that would be disrespectful to Johnny Cash because if that wasn't his intent, I don't want to take away from that.
Yeah, the guy's been gone for like 20 years. Next year's going to mark 20 years since he passed away.
Yeah.
So
we're honoring him.
Yeah, we're honoring him with this record review. And we're going to cut back to me here for a minute. There was another song on here that he covered that I just realized is a Beatles song. He covered John Lennon's song In My Life, which was originally wrote by McCartney and Lennon for their 1965 album called Rubber Soul. Great record, by the way. John Lennon wrote the Beatles song In My Life with some help from Paul McCartney and Beatles producer George Martin, who should have received a co-writing credit, in 1965. 15 years later, in his last major interview, John Lennon described the song as a remembrance of friends and lovers of the past. And, like, that right there tells me everything that I need to know. Like, this whole song is basically reminiscing about good times you've had in your youth.
Yeah.
And, like, dude, if that's not a more fitting song for this record, I don't know what is. Like,
oh, yeah.
Because, like, the whole thing is just, like, it's like a goodbye album. So it's like this song, like, could be covering Johnny Cash's life, you know?
Yeah.
Just going through all the good times he had, and the bad as well, you know, like...
All of these songs very clearly are linked to some sort of nostalgia or saying goodbye or comforting, all of which would be very clearly intentionally done if this was his intention for this.
Yes.
As a goodbye. So I think you describing this as a goodbye album, especially with him, like, I mean, it's factual that he said that Hurt was him saying goodbye.
Oh, yeah, we are factual
like,
with this. Yes.
Yeah, like, that... So we know this was a goodbye album for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Because he straight up said it was. So that is a very good way to put it, Christian.
Yeah. So in my life, like literally, here's the first verse. There are places I'll remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone and some remain. Like, that's basically like, what do you think that's talking about, Preston? Like,
which part?
Okay, so that no, you're good. That is the opening verse to In My Life.
There are places I'll remember?
Yes.
You're talking about that?
Yeah, there are places I'll remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, not for better, some have gone, and some remain.
Okay, so what I see this is there are things that he will never forget up to the very end that happened in his life, and some have changed permanently and not really for the better, and some have gone and some remain. So even some of the bad things have not gone away. And all these places have their moments with lovers and friends. I could still recall some are dead and some are living. Like this is just him living through his life.
Oh yeah,
covering this, like just seeing, probably in the same way that the Beatles were to some extent.
Oh
just
yeah.
Like, regretting things that were bad that he did.
Yeah, because I think when John Lennon originally, like he said himself, when he originally wrote this, it was just him remembering his past. And I thought that was very fitting for Johnny Cash to cover this as well, because this song was kind of more uplifting in my personal opinion. It's just a guy remembering his life, but that's more inspiring to me, so it's kind of good we got another, like...
Maybe later on it gets a little happier, because like that part certainly wasn't that happy.
Oh, sure.
Because it was talking about like things, some have changed permanently, not for the better. I mean, that means like, he's regretting something, but maybe I'm sure there's happy parts in the song too.
Oh, yeah, literally the second verse, it gets a little better. It goes like this. All these places have their moments with lovers and friends I still can recall. Some are dead and some are living. In my life, I've loved them all.
Yeah, that's very happy.
Oh yeah, like okay, some of my friends are dead, but some are still here. No matter what, I love them. I love them all.
And I honestly think that might even be saying, possibly based off what we've talked about.
We've talked about before.
Like, even the people who he's hurt, whether he has a relationship with them anymore or not, or if he can't repair it, he still loves and cares about them. And wants what's best for them.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Absolutely. Like, that could also be taken as, like, I'm not going to hold a grudge against you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, things went wrong between us, and it just happened, but I still care about you, even if you don't necessarily feel the same. You know what I mean? Like,
which is just so respectful of him.
Yeah, to say that. Like,
yes.
Okay, enough with this bitterness nonsense.
Yeah,
like,
life isn't put that away.
Like, life isn't long enough to be holding grudges and bitterness towards one another. I'm done. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I still care about you, even if you may not like me very much. I still care about you.
Yeah,
and like,
I think that's. Really
dude.
Good.
Honestly, like, that takes a lot of guts. You know what I mean? To put that away and to let that go, it's not an easy thing to do for some people.
And then once again, we've taken something that he did as a cover and turned it back to him. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like you said, if he does a cover, it is his now.
Exactly. It's hilarious. Like,
and not even in a disrespectful way.
Oh,
it's
no,
just his own take on it.
It's his
which is
own
what
take.
we're doing right now.
What we're doing now. It's just it's our own take on these songs. And here, I want to go back here 1 minute. I believe, Preston, was there another one on here that kind of interested you at all? One.
I really liked First Time I Ever Saw Your Face.
And it's funny you bring up that song. I actually haven't listened to this all the way through, but I think my interpretation already, you'll have to read the lyrics for me, but I think he's talking about June.
So you want to hear something really ironic?
What?
You mentioned the movie Logan earlier.
Yeah.
And in X-Men First Class, and I believe the very first X-Men, when Wolverine wakes up in the school, this song is playing.
You gotta be kidding me. Really?
Yep. So
how ironic
also
is
connects
that?
Back to Wolverine.
Yeah, it's like, it reminds me of George Lucas's quote about his Star Wars movies. It's like poetry, it rhymes. Yeah. Like, that's crazy. But go ahead. So, like, what intrigued you about this song, Preston?
Well, first off, I need to mention who the original artist was.
Okay, so who covered this originally?
Hold on. It's Ewan McCall.
Ewan McCall. Okay.
Yeah, Ewan McCall made it. I honestly feel like, from my interpretation, this is a time, perhaps the first time, maybe just another time, he really fell in love with somebody.
Sure.
And it starts with, the first time ever I saw your face, I thought the sun rose in your eyes, and the moon and the stars were gifts you gave.
Mm-hmm.
To the dark and the endless sky, my love, and the first time ever I kissed your mouth, I felt the earth move through my hands like the trembling heart of a captive bird that was there at my command.
Yeah.
All of that, that's two verses, but like they kind of needed to go together.
Oh, yeah. Like, dude, that whole thing, that's literally... Excuse me. That could be a love poem. Like, it literally feels like a
maybe it was before he turned it into before the original artist turned it into a song.
I feel like he's straight up talking about his wife June. I think that's what he's talking about.
Which wife was that?
His second wife.
His second wife.
So, a little backstory for you, John. Can you look this up for me? Johnny Cash, his first wife, they married in like the early mid 50s, and then they divorced in like the mid late 60s because John was going on the road with June a lot, and June would end up being the love of his life. You know, crazy fact. Now, keep in mind, I don't know if this is 100% factual, but June Carter was a singer ever since she was a very little girl, and John, when he was a kid, heard her and her family on the radio once, and he told his family as like a joke, I'm assuming, that someday I'm gonna marry June Carter. And lo and behold, look what happens. Just, cut 30-40 years later, it happens. Him and June toured together, and they eventually fell in love, and after John got divorced, they got married in 1969. Like, John was madly in love with June. Like, they were, like, the ultimate, like, couple. And, like, she was the love of his life. Literally.
So, his first wife, is that what you wanted me to look up?
Yeah. What was his first wife?
Vivian Durain Liberto.
Yeah, and I believe they had 2 kids together.
Yes.
And John And June had 2 daughters already before she married John. And then once they got married, they had a son a year or 2 later.
Yeah.
So
they had 4 kids.
Oh, really?
It says 4, including Roseanne, Kathy, and Cindy Cash.
Oh, that's a daughter from John's first marriage, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I believe he had 2 daughters with his first wife.
Okay.
But anyway, back to the song, First Time I Saw Your Face. I think that whole thing is him recounting how much he loves June. That is my interpretation of it. And that could be it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah, he could have just been singing. Maybe this was their song for all we know.
Yeah, who knows?
That's not the kind of thing they'd want to just release to the public.
Oh, sure. Like, some things you need to keep in private, obviously.
Yeah. But whoever he wrote this to, whether it was her or it was someone else, who knows?
Yeah,
this was his dying days.
Yeah.
It was certainly a love poem.
Well, without a doubt, that's just straight poetry right there with those verses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to wrap it up for this recording. And, dude, I got to tell you, I had no idea that, I think this could take the award for the deepest I think we've ever went.
You think?
With music.
I don't know, because Billy Joel and Elton John could really give it a run for its money.
Oh, I mean, yeah, fair enough. We did go pretty deep. On
this one might beat them though.
I don't know. It just
we tend to go very, very deep with the musical ones.
I'm just talking about the subject as a whole. Given the time and place of Johnny Cash, and I kind of feel like this could because Billy Joel and Elton John are both in good health, really good health, when they recorded those 2 albums. You know what I mean?
True.
This
and
one
he was not.
This guy, John was literally dying when he recorded this.
That's true. I think you're right. I think this one takes the cake for deepest.
Yeah.
Not to discredit the other 2. If you haven't listened to them, shameless plug here, please do. They're great.
Yeah, we covered we've covered many before. Preston and I have covered Elton John's Yellow Brick Road, and we've also covered Nylon Curtain by Billy Joel.
Yes.
Which I thought were very good recordings.
I made him a Billy Joel fan through discussing it.
Yeah. And I hope you enjoyed this recording. I thought this was a very awesome album to review to end the semester on. I don't know what albums yet I'm going to review next semester, but I got a long list of ones to pick out from, so I think there's going to be some pretty interesting topics in the near future. But Preston, thank you yet again for joining me on the show, and thank you for helping me get some insight into these songs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's always a pleasure. I've said this to him before, but as much as I love the movie episodes, there is something special about doing these music episodes. Honestly, I like these just as much, if not better, some of them than some of the movie episodes we've done.
Yeah, same here. I was kind of worried that my music recordings weren't going to be as good as the movie ones. But the ones that we've done together so far, what we've covered, they have been great.
Oh, yeah.
Really great.
Absolutely.
So, again, I hope you enjoyed this recording, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. And until next time, I'm Christian Taylor with
Preston Vanswall.
And you are listening to the Tales of Music and Film.